Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is David Rashid, R-A-S-H-I-D, along with my partners Jennifer Ashley, A-S-H-L-E-Y, and Heidi Wickstrom, W-I-C-K-S-T-R-O-M. We are proud to represent a courageous individual who has brought this lawsuit against the Westchester Middle School, the Westchester School District, District 92.5, and the Westchester School Board, as well as Dawn Lack, formerly known as Dawn Anderson, currently known as Dawn Chester. Allow me to provide a summary of the events from the lawsuit. In 1998, our client was a sixth grade student, and Dawn Lack was her science teacher. During that period of time, her teacher began letter writing campaign to her that was grooming in nature and disturbing by all accounts. The school sponsored an overnight event in Wisconsin, at which point Dawn Lack inappropriately touched our client and made physical contact with her. This continued throughout the year, in which this teacher would write detentions for our client to be one-on-one and alone with her. In 1999 and 2000 school year, Dawn Lack was our client's volleyball teacher or volleyball instructor. During that period of time, the letters continued, culminating in an event that the school was aware of, that the school sponsored at an off-site location in which Dawn Lack was the only representative of the school present with the volleyball team of 12-year-old girls. The girls were sleeping on one side of a half wall, and Dawn Lack had an air mattress on the other side of the half wall. And it was there that Dawn instructed our client to come and sleep on the air mattress with her overnight. While there, our client was sexually abused. At a minimum, the Westchester School District, the Westchester Middle School people in positions of authority were made aware of that event. That happened in the fall of 1999, and yet no action was taken by those in the position of authority for several months. During that period of time, the letter writing continued, the one-on-one time continued, and the sexual abuse continued. The client was sexually abused in the science lab, in the classroom, and in the gym by this individual, of whom the school district and people in position of authority knew had had a sleepover off-school premise with. Finally, thankfully, our client's mother discovered these letters that Dawn Lack had been writing and immediately took them to the school. This happened in May of 2000. The school investigated and apparently advised Ms. Lack to resign. But inexplicably, no reports were filed with DCFS, no criminal reports were filed, and as a result, this individual went on to teach at a different area middle school for over 20 years. We have with us some of the letters that were written by Ms. Lack to our client, and I would like to read a couple of them now. This is a letter from April of 2000. I've officially decided you drive me nuts. How will I possibly last until tomorrow to find out how you are? I'm having a hard time going full days without talking to you. I just feel like something is missing. This is from April 25th of 2000. It bothers me when we don't sort things out before you go home, when things aren't right between us. I pretty much take you with me everywhere I go. I don't know why, but I just do. In fact, I was talking to you last night, and you weren't even there. Scary, huh? These aren't the musings of two teenagers with crushes on each other. This is a grown woman in a position of authority over a 12-year-old girl writing these letters. These letters that continued for multiple years. after events that the school district and members in position of authority at the school knew were inappropriate and had occurred. This is a letter from May of 2000. You can just come in my room. I suggest you go to the bathroom and come after the bell, or everyone will see you come in my room. The secrecy, this is just one of many letters that instruct our client to be secretive, to hide what's going on between this teacher and the student. And yet, right under the eyes of those at the Westchester School District and the Westchester Middle School, this same student, who they had the reports of the sleepover in the fall, is continuously and constantly coming out one-on-one of this woman's room, and yet no action was taken. In an undated letter, if you just don't care about me, I think I have a right to know. This is the last thing I'll ever ask of you. I want you to find a few minutes and write down exactly how you feel about me. You owe me that. Let's be perfectly clear. Our client owed this grown woman nothing. What was owed was to our client. What was owed was the protection to be a child, to go to school, to be protected. And that was owed by the Westchester Middle School, by the Westchester School District, and those in a position of authority. And they failed. And this lawsuit is the result of that failure. At this time, I'm going to have my partner, Jennifer Ashley, read a statement that the victim has prepared.
This is a statement written by the victim. It is difficult to put into words the effect this abuse has had on my life. I have suffered severe depression, anxiety, PTSD, and nightmares because of the abuse I endured as a child. To this day, I am in therapy and continue to work through my emotions that come with sexual abuse. My abuser was my teacher and my volleyball coach, who was supposed to educate, mentor, and protect me, but did the opposite. School is supposed to be a safe place, but it was not safe for me. Even though the abuse happened years ago, it continues to affect every aspect of my life, including my health, relationships, and work. I'm coming forward with my story, as painful as it is to share and relive, because I believe I can make a difference in holding my abuser and those who allowed it to happen accountable. My abuser wasn't the only person in the wrong. The adults at the school, who should have been protecting me, ignored complaints and red flags and failed me. I hope that by sharing my story, it could prevent something similar from happening to another innocent child and help others to have the courage to come forward. To others dealing with the effects of sexual abuse, please know you are not alone. And I encourage you to speak up, seek justice, and hold those responsible accountable. Thank you.
The message for parents out there who send their children to school every day is be vigilant, be aware of the signs of potential abuse and neglect. Trust that spidey sense that tells you something's not quite right. To school boards, to administrators, to those in position of authority, the message is that our children are our most prized possession, and we will stop at nothing to hold you accountable if you don't do the job of keeping them safe and protecting them and for other potential victims out there, because this individual was allowed to stay working with children for over 20 years. A message to you: the system that was entrusted to protect you has failed you, but you're not alone. You're not alone in this fight. We are here and stand willing and ready to assist if we can. We are so proud of our client for having the courage to come forward, difficult as this is, so that others may be empowered to have a voice as well. And at this time, we will take any questions.
I just want you to help me hear this out. I understand based on the press release that the victim apparently found out on social media that the alleged abuser was still working in education, and somehow she found the courage then to come forward, correct?
That's correct. So through social media, our client became aware that this individual was a middle school teacher at another middle school in the area. And at that point, our client decided, in an effort to protect others from suffering what she had suffered, to come forward and report it.
Can you specify how long was this when she found out? Half a year ago, 2 months?
Can you just
When
clarify?
she found out that the alleged abuser was still working, can you specify when was this? A few months ago, a year ago?
I think within the last 6 months or so. Sure.
That's when she came to you.
I believe the first what occurred was that she reported to the police and provided a copy of the letters that were in her possession at that time to the police, and the police then began an investigation. Our client came to us after that process.
And do you, either through your client or any other calls you've gotten, do you suspect that there were other victims?
We don't know. We don't know. We know the pattern of behavior, and we know what our client endured, and we just want, if there are other victims out there, we want them to know that they're not alone, and that they have a voice, and that we're happy to give that voice to them.
What did she think happened to her after she left Westchester?
What did our client think happened to the teacher after the teacher left Westchester? Just that she wasn't there anymore. I'm not certain. I don't know specifically what our client felt happened to this teacher, but presumably that she wasn't going to be around children anymore.
Can you explain, has she explained to you why she kept these letters?
Has our client explained to us why she's kept these letters? I'm not certain that, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if they were kept. I don't know if once our client's mother discovered the letters, I believe it was her mother that may have kept those letters. And that once our client saw this teacher was teaching again at a middle school, she alerted her mother, and her mother was able to retrieve the letters that had been preserved.
Has she been getting therapy all these years? I'm trying to figure out, because the social media post kind of brought up that she was still working in a school district, but why did she decide then to bring those allegations to police after all of these years? Is it for fear of other kids?
Yes, I think in an effort to protect I think the shock of seeing the fact that this woman was still teaching in a middle school after the letters had been given to the school district 20 years earlier. And I think in an effort to protect other children from this woman, she came forward.
What would be justice for your client?
Well, from our end, I think justice from our client is to try to make her whole, to try to give her, fair and just compensation for all that she's been through. It's what our civil justice system does. I think there's a criminal aspect that's going on right now, and we'll leave that to the state's attorney and the criminal side. There's an element of justice there as well. But from a civil justice side, those who were in a position of authority who could have prevented this, who could have stopped this, who could have limited this, and who didn't do so, there is an obligation now to make our client whole.
And just to clarify, you mentioned that this, according to your plan, that this process started when she was in sixth grade. Was she 12 or 13?
I believe that when the process started, she was 11, and it continued through when she was 12.
So that when her mother went to the school, she was 12.
Correct.
So it's been her first year.
Yes.
You've spoken to this quite a bit in a number of your answers, but can you kind of, bigger picture, talk about why it's so important to bring this to light and to, hold this person accountable after all of these years, especially for those questioning, why now?
Sure. I think anytime we can hold somebody accountable for their actions, it's important. 1 year or 20 years later. I think anytime that we can protect children from potential abusers, it's important, whether now or 20 years from now. I think anytime that we can say to the people in position of authority, to the people who are overseeing the very safety of our children, who we all send off to school every day, and then don't see again until it's time to pick them up, if we can say to them that if you don't take this role, this as the most serious role, and give it as absolute much attention as you possibly can, you will be held accountable. So it's important that all people who are involved in the process be held accountable for this, because every day, new parents are going to be sending new children to school, and there has to be an element, and there has to be a level of protection for those kids throughout this state, throughout the Chicagoland area, because this is the obligation of schools and school districts and school boards, and in this instance, our client was failed.
And what message does this send to other victims who, also could have been in a situation like this decades ago and didn't think that they would ever see, anything like this as a result?
It's never the wrong time to speak up for yourself, to advocate for yourself, to come forward. Whether the civil justice, whether the criminal justice system can help depends on a lot of different things, but it's always the right time to come forward and speak up. And there are people who are here. There are people who hear. There are people who are listening and who are willing to do whatever we can to fight for you and to attain justice for you, at least here on the civil side from our end. So speak up, come forward, tell your story. At the very least, know you're not alone, that there are other people, there are other victims who were victimized 20, 25 years ago, as our client was, who came forward and spoke up, and now is going to make a difference, is making a difference by getting this teacher out of the school, out of the classroom, is making a difference by holding accountable those who ignored or disregarded the warning signs and the red flags. It's never the wrong time to speak up.
Do you know the status of the criminal case? Is she in custody or is she?
There was a formal indictment at the last hearing. My understanding is that she is on some form of house supervision.
And in this type of situation, just remind me, would DCFS be notified because she was recently in contact with children? Do you know if DCFS has been involved?
Recently.
Yes.
I'm not certain. I know that the part of the complaint in this case is that the Westchester School District and the Westchester Middle School failed to notify DCFS or anyone of these facts back in 2000. But what involvement, if any, DCFS has at present, I'm not sure.
Because you think that she was teaching as of last year?
Yes, I think we know that as of last year, she was still teaching in a middle school in the area.
And is there anything else you could tell us about your client? I appreciate you reading the statement that you mentioned that she's getting treatment. Is she a parent now? Is she still in the area now? Has this kept her from doing other things?
I think the harms that our client has experienced are incalculable. I mean, just from the description, from her own words, the suffering that she's experienced with the depression, the anxiety, the post-traumatic stress, the nightmares, all of that. As with any of us, our client is attempting to live their best life at this point. But this is a hurdle that for a 12-year-old girl to overcome and to live the rest of their life with has been extraordinarily challenging.
Can you confirm how old the client is today?
The client will turn 38 in December.
And did you feel comfortable sharing any of the details? Is she working? Does she have a family?
I think it's probably enough for
Okay.
that we're at this point.
Is
Thank
she
you.
still in the area?
Yes.
Okay. Dawn Chester, was she married, kids, anything? Then now?
We believe that she was married with children or with a child on the way during the period of time that this occurred, although that's just, that's what we believe.
She was pregnant during some of the 2 years?
It's possible, yes.
Anything else you'd like to share, or anything else that you think is important for people to know?
Can you repeat your first and last name for us?
Jennifer, Jennifer, Ashley, Ashley.
And was this actually filed today?
So it was filed on Wednesday. It was accepted as a filing on Thursday, and then, so it's officially on file as of Thursday.
Do you know if the parties have been served?
I would say probably not at this point. Yeah, that's,
I haven't seen the
Soon.
complaint yet. What are you asking? What is being asked for?
so if there are copies of the complaint here, if you'd like to look at it. And so, the complaint, obviously, we are asking for recovery in excess of the jurisdictional limit in the Circuit Court of Cook County. Obviously, the discovery process will ascertain what full and fair justice will look like for our client at the end of this. But you can rest assured that we'll be asking for full and fair compensation for all that our client has suffered because of this.
Was there a dollar amount
Just in excess of the jurisdictional limitation, but no dollar amount yet. That will be fleshed out, of course, in the discovery process. It's $50,000, but that will be fleshed out in the discovery process.
What did similar cases see as far as jury awards?
I don't have an answer to that at this point.
You don't?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering